My little theme song.
All right.
Mimosa, these bars in the holster. Pouring up a drink, put my name on the poster. Women who could rap make you come a little closer. Step out the whip, drop a tip to my chauffeur. New guest on my list, champagne's by my hips. It's time to get lit, y'all know what it is. Time to rap, and mimosas.
Period. Woo! You know that's my thing. I gotta say woo every time we go. I don't know. I've been doing that since the first season, so I feel like I should keep it going.
You should.
Woo!
Consistency. Ric Flair. Woo.
Mm.
No cheers?
Oh, shit. So sorry.
Cheers to another episode.
Oh, Lord. I'm so clumsy. Oh, God.
Okay, I like the pineapple.
Mm-hmm.
I like the pineapple with
It's
it.
giving something.
It's giving.
It's giving. Okay. Today we are talking about mental health practices. Now I want to go ahead and forewarn everyone that neither one of us are licensed mental health practitioners. Okay, that means although I got my degree in social work, okay, there we go. There he is. Okay, although I got my degree in social work, oh my bad. I am not, a social worker or a licensed therapist, psychologist, psychiatrist, anything of that nature. She does have a license, but not in mental health. Not in mental health, okay? So we're going to talk about our personal experiences. I want to make sure I say that and the things that work for us personally. It is raining.
I knew it was rain.
Oh, man.
That's okay.
Raindrops keep falling on my head.
All I see is raindrops.
Rain down on me.
Let your love just fall like rain, just rain on me. Come on, SWV.
Yeah.
They knew.
Okay. So, Brittany and I are both advocates for mental health practices, especially for therapy.
Absolutely.
And I know we're going to talk about a bit about our journeys, but what do you think, first of all, took you or inspired you to actually seek therapy? Let's start there.
Brokenness. Finally getting to a point and admitting that, hey, I'm in a space where I'm not okay. None of these relationships are working out. Dating sucks. And then honestly, sometimes people wait until death. That's how I got back into therapy the second time around. This is actually my third go around in therapy. And there's a stigma amongst that. Like, oh, once you go, you're fixed forever.
Yeah.
This is a repeated thing. As many days that you put in and out with life, some days are good and some days are bad. You're going to have different seasons where things are on the up and up and then things are just really, really low. And I've had 3 cycles of that. And I'm still in therapy even though I'm in a good space now. But it's more so to maintain a condition.
I think that I always tell people, because I talk about therapy so much in my personal conversations, I always tell people, it's okay if, you don't get your therapist right the first time. Because it took me a couple of therapists before I got to the right one. And I outgrew one of my therapists. And that's a thing, too.
That's not talked about.
Yeah, I outgrew one of my therapists. And I realized, okay, she is no longer helping me in a way that I think fits me and where I'm going in my growth and my trajectory. So I kind of was like, all right, you know what? It's time to peace out. So I always tell people, one, it's okay if it takes you a couple rounds. You might meet a person and you realize, okay, you're not relating to me or I'm not relating to you in a way that I think will be conducive. 2, it's also okay if you get to a point where you've been with the same therapist for 6 months, a year, 2 years, and you realize, oh my gosh, you've helped me so much, but where I'm going next, I don't think that that's for you. Or the way that you treat me no longer works with my level of growth. And I think I had to learn to be comfortable with that too, because at first I was like, dang, why is it not working anymore? Or why does it feel like when I call her, she doesn't have much input or insight? And I realized, I reached a point to where I need someone different who is going to have a fresh pair of eyes, but also with where I was going personally within my own spiritual development, I needed someone who, could kind of tackle certain questions that I had based off of dreams I was having or messages that I felt like I was receiving from a spiritual aspect as well. So I enlisted a spiritual advisor.
Okay.
Right, so, which is different from a therapist.
How has that been going for you, that process?
We have not been in communication for a bit just because she went on a sabbatical. So I also have a therapist as well.
Oh, so alternate.
I alternate. But the spiritual advisor, let me tell you, we were talking. We were on Zoom, and she was telling me about myself within like the first 10 minutes. Like, she could read me so well. I had never had a person read me as well as she did.
Scary, huh?
Right? And to the point where my homeboy was in another room. And she was talking about I have perfectionist issues, and I was like, "Damn, bitch, you barely know me, but you right, I do got
knowing,
well, I got perfection. You have perfectionist issues, and this, and that." And I was like, "Damn, son." And then she was like, "Oh, this process is not going to be a pretty process." And I could tell, like she said, I had my hair twisted at this time. She said, "Your twist, your afro, everything gonna be fucked up."
Ooh.
And she was rolling a joint.
Wait a minute. So she telling you your reading before she got lifted.
Oh yeah, she was like rolling the joint, I was like, I like her.
She's also multitask.
But you know, but she's initiated into like different things when it comes to Orishas, and so it just felt like someone I could learn from. And even the way that she handles stuff, we talked about things from such a holistic level, and she was so transparent and honest. It made it easy to talk to her. Those just joining, we're talking about our journeys when it comes to mental health. For me personally, I think we don't talk enough about like the I started to struggle my senior year of college more than anything. It was a lot at one time because I'm trying to figure out what the hell is about to happen after college, right? Still balancing my responsibilities within my sorority and school and trying to make sure I graduate. And then when I left, I got a teaching position back in Miami. And coming back here, I moved with my grandparents because they lived down the street from the school. And I was just like, bruh, this ain't it. It was such a struggle. He says, I'm always the only guy here. Listen, we love you. We love your testosterone here.
Yes, come on.
There was another guy here though. There was a couple of other men.
Back.
Yeah, there's a couple of other men that was here. I'm so sorry, John. Don't worry. You stay where you are though, sir.
Thanks, John.
Okay. But I got really depressed to the point where I would be at the schoolhouse, and I would be staring out like Squidward, you know that meme with Squidward watching Patrick,
SpongeBob and Patrick down there having fun.
I would be looking outside at the sunshine and everything, and I would be crying before my students came into my class. And it got to the point where I would like kind of like get it together, suck it up a bit. But I remember there would be times where I would be so quiet. My students would be like, "Miss Johnson, are you okay?" Right? And I'm just like,
you know what that is? Post-grad depression. A lot of people do not talk about it. They're not
horrible.
Prepared for it. I think every graduate goes through it.
But it was crazy because no one talked about it. And at the time, I had never been to a therapist yet. And I remember just crying all the time. I remember feeling weird. I got involved into a really toxic relationship because I wasn't the type of girl. I'm not the type of girl to be up under nobody's ass. But at that time, I had nothing else going on, so I just got super fixated on this relationship with this older man,
absorbed into it.
And I just like lost myself even more because I was trying to figure out, well, who is LaShondra outside of college? Who is LaShondra outside of her sorority? Who is LaShondra as an adult? I had no idea. And that was like my first time really seeking out therapists. And I went through a couple before I got really specific. I called my insurance company and I was just like, I need you to send me within a 10-mile radius of my zip code all the black therapists or social workers.
Period. And don't feel bad for that.
I did not. And then from there, I Googled them and I realized I didn't want a man. So then I just Googled all the women, right?
You want somebody that can relate to you 100%.
Well, it's funny because I had a male mentor in college, right? And I sought him out because my father and I have had a very toxic relationship. And at that time in college, I was like, I need to be intentional about understanding men from a man's perspective. And he was great. And he was very human and flawed and open about his humanness and his flawedness. Like, he told me stuff that I'm just like, you probably shouldn't tell people this. But with my personality, I welcomed it as just a fresh take of just being human. And I think men deserve spaces to just be human with people.
I agree.
So I was just like, I respected the fact that he was telling me from his perspective things. So that's how I started my therapy journey. And as I've gone through different relationships and as I've evolved as a person, I've had the need to find You know, like after a while, when I finally found that right therapist, it felt like I found home, right? And I had her for probably 2 or 3 years. And then it didn't feel like home anymore. It felt like it was time to move on. And I went through a couple of others.
So who ended the relationship? Was it, and you know what? A lot of people don't know that sometimes therapists will end the relationship too. Once they have realized that, you know what? You're on a different level than when we first began. I have given you the tools over these past months, depending on how often you visit your therapist. Me, I don't know about you, I'm bi-weekly now. Before, I used to be weekly when I first started with therapy. And then she saw it as an upgrade. She was like, you know what? You don't need me every week. Let's go ahead and go over the tools that I have given you, and I want you to implement it, and we meet bi-weekly now. But with the therapist that I have now, my second go-round in therapy, she actually ended the relationship. She was like, it's time for you to use everything that I taught you. Spread your wings and fly.
Yeah. My current therapist was like, I don't know if you need a therapist as much as you might need mentorship.
There's a difference.
And there's a big difference in that. She says, not to say that mental health components won't fall into it, but she says you have strategies and coping mechanisms that you do. And I think sometimes when we think about mental health and therapy, we think that you get to a point where you're just healed and you never have breakdowns anymore. And you're never sad anymore. And that's a lie, because with all the coping skills that I've accumulated, I'm very transparent. I had a mental health breakdown just last week, and it was the first one I've had in a very long time. And being transparent, I had not seen my therapist or mentor, whatever you want to call her, in like a month. Right? So I broke down, and I was reverting back to old things I used to do. Like I used to do
habits and
old habits, because I was having an anxiety attack, and when I go through those, I would look for ways to like almost be harmful to myself. So whether it was hitting myself or anything, I had to stop myself from reverting back. And like
all red flags,
and literally start to like, okay, what can I do in this moment of this anxiety attack to calm myself down? Because when I was younger and I would do these things would go unbeknownst. Because for most people, when they interact with me, a lot of times I'm goofy, I'm bubbly, I'm smiling all the time.
Right, exactly.
But, you know, a lot of times I'm like an ambivert, so I can be like that in front of people. But I've literally left from social situations where I could have been the life of the party, and I'll boo-hoo cry in the car or have an anxiety attack in the car. And I remember it used to be so bad, I used to have thoughts of crashing the car with myself in it. Like, I just wanted to end whatever pain I was feeling.
And that's when you know it's time for somebody else outside of yourself, and sometimes outside of family. You need somebody completely unbiased, somebody who don't know you from Adam, to have in your circle at that present time, to really be with you and try to understand where you are in that moment and how to give you those tools to get out of that situation that you can use each time that you're there. Because just like you said, realistically, there is a stigma that, okay, I go to therapy, I get fixed like you're an animal, you get fixed. No, this is something ever going. Really, as many days as you wake up and God gives you life and breath in your body, there sometimes will be a problem that you have to face, and you may not know how to deal with it. And at the same time, a lot of people shun therapists, and you already know in our community there's a big stigma about therapists, but I feel like God created therapists for a reason.
Absolutely.
Use it. We need to get rid of this stigma. We need to eradicate this stigma and make it normalized that talking to somebody outside of our circumstances is 100% completely normal. That's what's saying to me.
And it's very necessary, because unfortunately sometimes others that you feel are close to you may not always fully understand, and the way that they may want to help you may not be beneficial to you.
It's not conducive.
You know, because sometimes you got for different friends for different things. So I got the tough love friends who I know no matter what, just naturally they're not always the most empathetic, and sometimes you need that tough love, right? But then you got the friends who might be in the middle. They're a good little mixture. Oh, excuse me.
It's all right. That's that crown.
That's
that crown coming up.
And then sometimes you have the friends who, you know, are like, you know, that they'll like, come here, lay your head on my bosom. And I think for me, I've become so, like, when I say that was like the first time in a minute I've had like that strong of a mental health breakdown. I've had anxiety since, for as long as I can almost remember.
Right.
But literally this idea of me like breaking down and not feeling in a healthy space to the point where for the next 2 days I was shut down. I was in the bed.
Out of your element.
I was completely out of my element. And it's one of those things where it's just like, well, how do I get out of this? And I had to also, like, one thing I've learned is to give myself the grace to feel.
Facts.
Like, everything is not an immediate, I have to be healed in this moment. It was like, there's something that's not right with me mentally or physically, whether I can pinpoint it right now or not. I need the space to feel, and I need it to be okay that I'm feeling, and allow myself that space, and also allow myself the space to remind me, like, okay, bitch, get up. You've been down for the last 24 to 36 hours. Now it's time to start the process to kind of slowly but surely pick yourself back up. But I had to give myself the space to I'm gonna just sleep.
But you know what? Before you even got into that space, you know what was so important and so key for you to give yourself first? Acknowledgement. You know how many times in life we live through denial? So you having that breakdown and you being mature enough in a space to acknowledge, damn, oh shit, I'm back in this space. I'm back in this space. And I can bet you bottom dollar that one of the reasons why you are in therapy is to continue to educate yourself and really expose yourself to different coping skills when you are in that position.
You know what it is too,
What's
as time continues on, right? So there was the need for therapy when I first graduated because I got depressed with like not knowing who the freak I was.
Who am I? Right.
But then recently, I think 2020, took a toll on everybody. And for me, I've been semi-transparent about the fact that I had a lot of family issues and I became a caregiver. And a lot of stuff was thrown my way, and I've had a lot of dissension and discord between me and certain people because of the role that I ended up having to play. I became the villain in a sense for some people's stories because I had to become like, well, no, you're not going to treat, my grandmother this way, or no, this is not okay, X, Y, and Z. And to people older than me. But it took a toll on me this year, mentally and spiritually.
Physically as well.
And physically. It took a major toll on me. So I had to be so much more purposeful in reaching out for a mental health therapist for me, myself, because I was like, boy, some of these family members trying to suck the fucking life out of me. God.
And will do it if you let them.
Oh, my goodness. I said, and it's crazy because, for me, I'm just like, well, how could this be happening? And I had to stop asking myself how
and
or why.
It'll
And literally just say, okay, this is what it is. How can I get myself in a place where I'm mentally okay with whatever the fuck is happening externally? To be okay internally, because it has put me in a position where I felt so much anger, I felt so much anxiety, and it's so unhealthy to carry that around for yourself. It's poison.
It's poison. It really is.
It's literally
Slow
poison. Even when I look at dating, mental. Hold on, the crown about to come again.
I'm crying. Meanwhile. Cheers, y'all.
Cheers. Okay. Excuse me. But when I look at dating differently now too, since I've been really focused on my mental health, and unfortunately, new set. Y'all check out the new set. Y'all see that? Okay, sorry. Nail break. Nail break. But I my practices for dating have changed because I feel like I've gotten to a place of learning healthier coping mechanisms, even on my down days, knowing exactly what I need when I'm in certain mental health spaces, and really just being such a different person that now when I look at dating, one of the first main questions I now ask or look at is, what are your mental health practices? Do you have a mentor? If you don't have a therapist, do you have a mentor, right? What do you do?
Or even a support circle.
Like, what does your support team look like? Do you have a homeboy that y'all just get together? I believe men need men. I'm not one of them girls that's like, oh, men shouldn't be going on. Go on your boys' trips. Especially if you have especially if I know you have a healthy circle, right? And that's the biggest thing. Like, oh, I see your circle. I feel like your circle is healthy. Oh, your brother, your uncle, your whomever. Men need men.
Or even your dad.
Hello.
Even your dad.
Especially your dad.
I am so pleased that I happen to be with someone that has an extremely close relationship with their dad. And I have dated men who have had zero relationships with their dad before, and I can tell you it's a world of a difference sometimes. Sometimes you have people that don't have and they go harder because they don't have it. You know what I mean? So you have to throw in that element too. But just like you said, if it's not a mentor, if it's not a therapist, homeboy, your mama, somebody that you can have a positive output to and really talk authentically to.
I've tried to date men, and this is where I get into like this idea of being equally yoked across the board, because I've tried to date men who were not as big into their mental health as I was, and I might have been maybe their first real experience of dating someone who was so into their mental health. And it just does not work, because I end up, by nature of being a nurturer, or wanting to nurture the person I'm with, I end up almost becoming like a mama or an auntie, because I realize like I can, like that whole you can't raise a man. A lot of times, and this is from my perspective, there has to be a certain amount of structure and discipline that an individual already has before you even come into the picture.
Before you come together, I agree.
Like, they already have to want it naturally for themselves. Not that there's perfection, because perfection is never the goal. We're never going to be perfect humans. But the fact that you know...
You heard yourself say that?
What? Perfection's not the goal. I know, I'm a perfect.
Okay.
I
just holding my friend here accountable.
I'm a perfectionist.
Because I heard what she said a few minutes ago.
I'm a perfect. I know. Perfection's never the goal. Okay, we're humans. But just like my dating preferences have changed so much, and I've actually gotten to the point now where if you don't have some type of structure already in place, I can't date you.
Period. And you should have your standards set high, and standards that apply for you and what you want in your mate. And there's nothing wrong with that. If somebody can't meet you to where you are, or at least put in the commitment to meet you there where you are, that person may not just be the person. Especially, and you know what? It's hard sometimes if you try to date somebody that completely has... What do I like to say? The textbook example of what people think therapy is when they think of it as in a negative aspect. I feel like we're undateable at that point. If you can't understand why I feel like this is vital to me, and not just to me. You know how many black therapists we have? You know how many black people just like me and you that are in therapy? Somehow as a community we have to eradicate the stigma, but there is no reason why you should be dating someone that can't even be empathetic. Cannot be empathetic. And I feel like in this day and age, empathy is something that can almost go extinct. And you need that in a relationship. You need that to be shown in dating. If it's not shown then, why do you think it's going to come later?
You know what? I dated this guy or whatever back in the day. I'm not going to date it just back in case he ever see it.
Used to fuck with, you know.
And I remember I was in therapy, and of course my relationship came up in therapy. And I remember at my therapist saying, oh, okay, well, you know, do you ever think he would come for a couple session? Right? And I was just like, I wouldn't be opposed to it. I'll ask him. So we have a conversation. I'm just like, would you ever come to therapy with me? And he was like, no. And I said, well, why not? He's like, I don't need no stranger telling me how to talk to my woman. I know how to talk to my woman. And the truth be told, he did not know how to talk to me.
You don't know how to talk to me. Why? You think I'm seeking somebody outside of our relationship? That should tell you something.
Yeah, he was just like, no, I'm not going. He was dead. So now I even asked before the onset, even okay, I'm going to tell you, I went on a great date with a gentleman not too long ago.
We love to hear it.
Okay, right. Not too long ago, but it was long enough ago. Okay.
Don't tell on yourself.
And I remember we had a conversation before the date, and he was already in therapy, which turned me on. I'm not gonna lie. I was like, "Oh, you already in therapy?"
We love to see it, honey.
Oh, how long you been in therapy? Oh, you said it's been.
Your ears just perked up like a dog.
And now we're talking about different, practices and things and all this different stuff, and it's like a really good conversation. Now, what got me, okay, well, where the panties got moist, okay, was where he said that his next relationship, he would like to start off in couples therapy. Ooh. He said that he would like to, from the get-go,
is he a unicorn?
Learn to a certain degree.
He got
yes.
a horn coming out. That's very unheard of.
I'm so sad I never got to see his horn, but is
basket ready, bitch. I wasn't ready for that. Probably for a reason. You probably would have been hooked.
No, but honestly, everything happens for a reason.
It do.
But
it do.
That conversation, like, really, like it did something to me just to know, like, oh my gosh, men out there do exist who want to, like, do this. And his rationale for it, honestly, was like, I want to learn how to communicate effectively from the get-go. So we're coming from a place immediately of learning to understand each other. And you know, I have my own individual session. You have your own. He said even if it's once a month or once every 2 months, almost like just a little oil change. Just a little oil change where we just have a session together. We, like, you know, talk about any possible issues that could have possibly have come up, and we go from there when we have decided that it's going to be an actual committed relationship that we're working to build something with. And I was just like,
where you been?
In order to date you, a man has to have mental health structure in place. Yes, he does, Chef. Absolutely. And once again, mental health structure looks different for different people. It could be a strong support system. I just think, you know, you have someone to talk to, because a lot of times I've dated men, and this is coming from my own personal experience, where I've dated men who I become their only mental health outlet and their only mental health resource.
So
they
draining.
don't feel, and it becomes a draining relationship because I have someone that I talk to like a therapist, but I don't talk to my boys like that, or well, you know, I'm not close to these family members, or a pastor. Somebody, men need men to talk to, and in a healthy aspect. So for me, even if it's not a licensed therapist per se, do you have an actual solid foundation of people that you're around that you can converse with, and that can tell you about yourself in a way that you'll listen to? Because sometimes there might be something that I may be stressing in a relationship, and you may not see it that way. But if you decide to talk to your homeboys and y'all having genuine conversation, and your homeboy kind of like put it in a way that you may understand it, or your therapist or your daddy or whomever, it's like, oh, it might make sense to you then. Because sometimes men have their own way of talking. And
logic.
Yeah, and I'm A-okay with that. I want you going out with the boys tonight? Say no more. Okay, have at it. Like I said, it's a healthy space, and I think men need circles of each other to just be men with, and even be vulnerable with each other in that aspect and dynamic. I think that's a beautiful thing to see.
And I want to thank you for bringing that to the podcast, because normally when people think of therapy, they think of women. Mm-hmm. Women are in these chairs, you know, lying down. Okay, so tell me why you're here, Susan. Mm-hmm. It's not just them. So for you putting that out there, even though someone may feel as though they may not be on the level to see someone licensed, but just like you said, at least having somebody in your community, in your close space that you know that you can converse with about some real shit, that's all that matters. That's all that matters.
You have to have it. And I've tried dating men who did not have it, and it never worked out.
It's draining.
It's very draining. It's not to say that it's going to automatically work out with someone who has it, because sometimes compatibility just isn't there. Yeah. But I'd rather we break up or stop talking because there's a lack of compatibility, versus it being an issue in general of just like, oh, we can't get past X, Y, and Z trauma that you're not even calling trauma, that you haven't dealt with. Like, you know, and you're coping in all these other weird manners or self-destructive manners. And if I tell you it's self-destructive, for some reason you don't listen to it. And you know what always end up happening? Oh, child, we stopped talking, and I started getting phone calls and text messages. Oh, man, now that we're not together anymore, I really see what you're talking about. Oh, man, I found a therapist, or I found a mentor. Oh, man, blah, blah, blah. And it's just like, great.
Little violin.
Yes, great. I'm happy that you realized it after the fact, but I was telling you stuff that I thought I saw that could have been destructive, not just to our relationship, but to you as an individual person.
Or maybe that was just your purpose. Ooh.
Sometimes it be like that, but that's why I said I'm over that part. I've learned that lesson, and sometimes you have to try something new. So yes, a person who wants to date me definitely has to have some type of mental health structure, and it's a non-negotiable for me. And I don't give a fuck what nobody got to say about it.
Follow-up question: what if you already meet your man and he's healed?
Oh, that turned me on a little bit. My nipples got a little hard.
Okay. I don't know who you gonna call after this.
Not a soul. I'm gonna call my vibrator. I'm gonna call him because he already close by. Okay.
I know that's
right. He already close by.
That's right.
Clear
the mental.
Clear the mental.
They ain't ready.
How do you feel like for yourself also that it's important for your friends, family, or even your significant other to have that support system or a mental health therapist as well?
I do. I believe as long as you have, even if it's one person that you can entrust and that you can confide in and talk, like I say, I keep it blood raw, talk some real shit with, I'm good with that. I don't believe in being in relationships where I purposely dump all of this on my partner. For example, now, even though I am in a very happy relationship, I'm still in therapy. Why? Before I got into this relationship, I was in a not so good relationship. And I don't want anything from that not so good relationship to trickle down in what is a good relationship. So even though I'm happy and I feel like mentally I am in a good space, especially leaving that toxic relationship, but I am doing therapy to maintain my progress and make sure that anything from the past doesn't trickle down into what me and my partner have now, especially if he has nothing to do with it.
And that's a big thing because I think sometimes we don't realize you don't always know what your triggers are going to be in your next relationship until you get in them. And I think that it's so important to analyze to the best of your ability. Yeah, I feel you, Britt. I would hope so.
I feel you too. Hopefully tomorrow.
Okay, wait.
Cheers to that.
Well, get one for me too.
You know I will. Never do podcasts with your homegirl, y'all. But no, on a serious note.
But I feel like that it's just it's a good way to do a tune-up. I feel like it definitely has impacted me. Like any of my friends or family members can tell you, we'll be like just a little deep into a conversation where it sounds like some trauma was experienced in my mind. So I'll be like, well, have you ever thought about a therapist? You know, I know somebody. You know, and then people. So what are you saying? You think I'm crazy? I said, child, I'm crazy. We all look crazy.
We have to break that stigma. Ain't nothing wrong with you. You don't have to be crazy.
They so you saying I'm crazy? Well, if you crazy, child, I'm crazy. How about that?
We all are crazy if we keep it in a book.
Because I got a therapist, and you know it works for me. And I also realize everything is not. Like some people are like, oh, well, therapy isn't talk therapy isn't for everybody. Well, art therapy, dance therapy, find an outlet. That's
might
what
be
I say.
True.
Like,
therapy may not be for everyone, but just like you said, as long as you have that outlet.
Because people let stuff fester inside and they don't realize, like,
poison.
It becomes very, very poisonous to think that that's the healthiest way to deal with it. And to be honest with you, the people who I meet who are in therapy, they're not perfect individuals, but I think it's just a different dynamic of conversation sometimes that I have where we can call each other out in a way. And we also, like, you learn communication techniques or whatever.
Facts. Yes,
like, there's certain things I've learned in therapy that I use even with my friends or family members when I feel like my feelings are hurt or whatever, you know, just different tactics like that teach you how to that teach you how to hold your vulnerability while also learning to have boundaries, because I realized I did not have boundaries with my family, which is one of the reasons why I was able to allow them to burn me out the way that I was burnt out, because a lot of times family just expect you to do because they want you to do right, and realistically speaking, baby, that's not gonna work. It's not gonna work. It's not gonna fly at all.
Too taxing.
What do you think is one thing you've learned about yourself now that you wish you would have known before therapy?
Woo! You want me to give you some real shit?
Give me some real shit.
I have realized over the years, even as a grown ass woman, and my therapist brought light to this to me first, and then my partner did after. So it was like a double whammy, like, damn, bitch. But even at 28 years old, I've realized that at some points in my life, I still seek my parents' approval. And sometimes I let that be the number one priority, and it supersedes everything else. It supersedes how I feel. It supersedes how my partner feels. And it had became too much. I realized in therapy that the little girl inside of me still wants and seeks that approval. Grown as hell. And that scared the hell out of me. Because I didn't even know. You want to talk about self-awareness? That's one thing I did not know about myself. And the more that I live life day by day, I'm like, damn, she was right. I'm doing it. But just like you said, it's funny. You were right on time about setting boundaries. I have to do the same thing. I have to do the same thing too. And it's hard because it's your family. But at the same time, you're not going to suck energy out of me.
Yeah.
That's precious. I need to regenerate that energy on my own time, not because you took it from me. Things that I wanted to be in place back then as a little girl, I may understand that as a grown woman. You may not be able to give that to me. I can give that to my next. And sometimes for some people, that's a really hard pill to swallow.
Yeah.
Because I didn't think that was me being always independent. I see why now. I see why I've been so overly independent over the years. And we don't talk about that either.
Yeah, that's a toxic trait within itself.
Very.
I would say the similar and the same. Just in the sense of my lack of boundaries, and even though I'm like most people would describe me as very free spirited, how like judgmental I am, not just to others, but a lot of times to myself. Like a lot of times, like
we are our worst enemy.
Worst enemy, and I think
worst critic.
One of the things I've been doing recently is I've been taking off everything that people have taught me, and I'm inspecting it to see if that's what I actually believe. And some of the things that I've been taking off are very controversial, like how I feel about children, marriage, roles in marriage, all these different things. They can be considered controversial to other people. But then I take it off, and I'm like, well, grandma said this, and mama said this, and I saw this. But none of that shit feel right because I actually believe this. At the core of my personality and who I am, this is what I actually believe. And then I pick whatever that is up and I put it back on. Or if I feel like it doesn't apply to me at all and I just don't give a fuck, then I just slide it on down. And if I ever think I want to care about it, I'll pick it up off the shelf and put it on. But taking things off that have been placed on me from other people, how I'm supposed to conduct myself, to, you know, once again, like the structure that I set for me versus the structure other people have set. And then putting those boundaries in place. I don't care about the age anymore. If you get on my nerves, let me tell you, hey, you got on my nerves. You get on my nerves right now. Like, and I try to be as respectful as I possibly can in the moment of it. But I'm going to tell you how I feel. And if I think you're wrong, I'm going to tell you that you're wrong. But if I say I believe X, Y, and Z, I'm actually not telling you I believe X, Y, and Z as an invitation for you to tell me I'm wrong. That I'm telling you
try
that
to change that.
Nothing. Like I'm telling you I believe X, Y, and Z because that's genuinely what I know in my heart of hearts at this point that I believe. And if I change my mind or I grow to believe something different,
it's on your terms.
It's going to be on my terms and my time.
That's
but I've inspected it. And a lot of times like that comes from like I would judge myself. Like there's certain parts of myself that are so free. And I grew up in such a strong boundary. There's parts of me that's so free, I'm concerned. Right? And not in the sense that it's an actual bad thing for me to be free in that way. But in my mind, I'm like, ooh, kind of like that approval thing. Like, ooh, I know.
I'm telling you, that shit like, is real, bro.
My mama not going to like this. Or, ooh, boy.
Fuck that shit.
Like, you know, this and that. So a lot of times, all of these things come into play. And I had to take a moment to really investigate, and I'm still doing it on a consistent basis because we're growing as people on a regular basis, right? So that means LaShondra now versus LaShondra when she's married. LaShondra when she's had children. LaShondra, when she's like, you know, attained a certain level of success, then move past X, Y, and Z. Like, LaShondra now is going to be completely different from that person.
That's right.
And learning to embrace every season for what that season is and not anything else. Right? So that means in this season, I'm going through these trials, but I'm also experiencing this joy. And that's going to be different. Right now, you know, as a woman and a person who I have not had a roommate or different things in a minute, and that's great. I don't know what I'm going to do when I'm living with my husband. God damn, getting on my nerves.
It's not bad.
It's not bad. Like, oh, I don't know what I'm gonna do.
It's actually pretty good.
Or like when I like have children, because I'll be like, oh my God, like they call your name all the time, boy. That mommy, my mom.
Yeah, that's a different
man,
yeah.
right? It's like, but like those things, like that's a joy, and I'm gonna look back on these moments now where I'm just like, damn, I wish I could go back to when it was just me. You know, sometimes you're going to have those moments. So I think just embracing everything and really understanding who I am and the people who love me authentically, even if they disagree with some of the things that I may believe in from their own perspective, we can agree or disagree respectfully and still love each other. And I think that that's been one of the biggest lessons that I've learned, and that it's okay for me to experiment with myself and see if I genuinely like stuff. Right.
You control and manifest your destiny.
All the time.
No one else. So.
All the time. You ready to rap?
Yeah.
All right. All right. It's time.
All right. It's time.
For the finale.
See. Let me.
Oh, you gotta pull up your bars first.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Let me see.
Uh-oh. Wait. This happened every time.
Uh-oh, really?
I'm
call this the champagne rug.
It must be the champagne rug.
Just call it the champagne rug.
Because I definitely spilled a whole bunch of champagne.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay.
It automatically, now the lives automatically save.
That's
anyway.
good. They should have been had that.
It saves to your IGTVs or whatever archives. It saves to your archives. And then you just
still
open it back up.
Yeah. So I can post you too.
All right, you ready?
Yeah. Now, 2 shots of Crown and pineapple mimosas. So,
don't try to give excuses before you start. You got this.
I think I got this. I know I got this. This tough back. I'm not a rapper though. I always say that 3rd time around, right? Your self-esteem used to be so fucked up when a man wants you, and now you're thinking you lucked up, Heavy so much to put emphasis on a man and not understand that we are the definition of a woman who can do it all +1. Healing after how fucked up love runs us done. Really thinking the man for me just ain't under the sun. Only thinking irrational because of that one. Now how many toes did I have to kiss and don't act well? Just to say I love my man and damn he's finally here. How I had to do the dirty work so I could play fair. Trusting yet another man to meet me trembled on care. I had to sacrifice a hurt woman in the mirror. Cause the real way I was moving was out of fear. So when you think of me, you better think of therapy. Now the only way to move is authentically. But now I'm so good, so good, so good.
Hey.
Feeling more beautiful than ever.
Okay.
So good, so good, so good. Staying tough in hurricane weather.
Okay.
So good, so good, so good. Truth is my back never felt better. Caught the crib, moved in, foundation built, and I'm living in my happily ever after.
Come on. That's good stuff there. I should probably... Nah, I never write my shit on.
That's okay.
Oh, man. Okay. Now, I can use the excuse of 2 Crown shots and mimosas later.
That's okay. I could do this whole verse for you just in your absence.
Oh,
If need be.
okay. All right.
You got it.
Niggas thought they'd take me out. Niggas thought I wouldn't win. Niggas thought they'd never see me smile again. But I'm sitting here, I'm shining. Sitting here shining, man, looking like a diamond. And I'm blessed and I'm blessed. Too blessed to be stressed, man. Fuck all the rest. You thought you could stop me, but man, you never stopped me. I'm about me. And I'm freestyling. And I'm freestyling. And I'm freestyling.
I'm about to go back in. I'm about to go back in.
Go ahead.
Start this thing over.
Go back in.
Because I don't think they heard me the first time.
Nah, they ain't hear you the first time, friend.
I'm
It's
gonna
give you some time.
talk some real shit. And this is all a true story.
True story.
True story. I tell no lies.
Tell no lies. No lies.
Took me what? Less than an hour to write this.
Oh, shit.
Next time I'm gonna actually do a freestyle.
Oh, okay.
Ready? Hey, your self-esteem used to be so fucked up when a man wants you, and now you're thinking you lucked up, huh? Have you so much to put emphasis on a man and not understand that we are the definition of man? A woman who could do it all plus one. Healing after how fucked up love runs us done. Really thinking the man for me just ain't under the sun. Only thinking irrational because of that one. Now how many toes did I have to kiss and don't ask where? Just to say I love my man and damn he's finally here. How I had to do the dirty work so I could play fair. Trusting yet another man to treat me with honest care. I had to sacrifice that hurt woman in the mirror. Cause the real way I was moving was out of fear. So when you think of me, you better think of therapy. Now the only way to move is authentically. And I'm so good, so good, so good. Healed and more beautiful than ever. So good, so good, so good. Staying tough in hurricane weather. So good, so good, so good. Truth is my back never felt better. Caught the crib, moved in and foundation built. And now I'm living in my happily ever after, bitch.
Hey. And this is for anyone or anything that ever tries to make you feel like you're not a queen or a king. This is for anyone or anything that ever tried to break you down. Because look at you, you're still sitting here with your crown, baby. See, this is my freestyle. It sounds like poetry, and that's fine because, baby, I'm like flowetry. You know what I'm saying? I just be flowing and moving, baby. You gotta keep up with me. You know what I'm saying? It's rapping Mimosa Sugarfoot, okay?
And cheers to that, bitch.
Season 2, baby. We live. Thank y'all for tuning in. Thank you for my triple guest. You about to be like how Bow Wow was Mr. 106 and Park. You about to be Miss Rapping Mimosa.
No! I take the crown with humbleness. Thank you, friend. One of the best podcasters out there. So unique, so dope and creative. Rapping Mimosas. We still rapping underneath the influence.
This is apple juice.
Now, why she lying to y'all? And we don't endorse Crown, but
I'm about to say they need to pay me for that endorsement.
pay us.
All right, y'all. And I'm going to take us out the same way that we always start.
A therapy matters. Go see a therapist if you need it, y'all.
These bars in the holster, pouring up a drink, put my name on the poster. Women who can rap make you come a little closer. Step out the whip, drop a tip to my chauffeur. New guest on my list, champagne's by my hips. It's time to get lit, y'all know what it is. Rap, and mimosas.
Woo! See you next time.
See you next time.
I have some really great discussions coming up too, by the way. I have some men that's going to be coming on the platform the next couple of rounds. And we're going to start talking about some business credit. We're going to talk about men and mental health and their actual mental health journey. Yeah, it's going to be a part 2, but with my current male mentor. So I've sought out another male mentor because, once again, I had to make sure I'm doing my healing process with the male gender on a consistent basis. So I got some good stuff coming up for y'all in the next couple of weeks. So make sure y'all tune in.
Tune in and tap in. Congrats again, friend.
Fresh set.